Lavish birthday party turned into a public meltdown when my best friend stood up and declared that my brand new luxury car now belonged to her. When I laughed, she screamed, keyed the car, and yelled, "If I can't have it, no one can!" The crowd gasped as I smirked and whispered, "Good thing it was just a decoy. The real one is parked elsewhere." So, this happened last weekend, and I still can't wrap my head around it. I'm 45 male, live in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I run a real estate firm that's been doing pretty well. After years of hard work, I decided to treat myself to a brand new 2025 Mercedes-Benz S-Class. Midnight blue, custom leather interior, the works. To celebrate both my birthday and the new car, I threw a party at the W Hotel's rooftop bar. I invited close friends, family, and colleagues. Among them was my best friend of 20 years, Rachel. Rachel and I met in college and had been close ever since. She became a high school teacher, and we always supported each other through life's ups and downs. Or so I thought. The party was in full swing. Laughter echoed across the rooftop, glasses clinked, and the band played a mix of old favorites and new hits. I was mingling when Rachel approached me with a glass of champagne. "Happy birthday, Mark," she said, clinking her glass against mine. "This is quite the shindig." "Thanks, Rachel. I'm glad you could make it." She glanced over the edge of the rooftop, where the valet had parked my new Mercedes in a spot visible to the guests. It gleamed under the lights, drawing admiring glances. "Is that the new S-Class?" she asked. "Yep. Just picked it up last week." "It's beautiful," she said, her eyes lingering on the car. I thought nothing of it. We chatted a bit more before she drifted off to join another group. Later in the evening, as the band took a break and the crowd quieted down, Rachel stepped onto the small stage set up for the musicians. "Can I have everyone's attention?" she called out. The guests turned toward her, curious. "I just wanted to say a few words about my dear friend, Mark," she began. "We've been through so much together, and I'm so proud of all he's accomplished." I smiled, touched by her words. "And," she continued, "I'm thrilled to announce that Mark has generously gifted me his brand new Mercedes as a token of our friendship." The crowd fell silent. I stared at her, stunned. She beamed. "Isn't that right, Mark?" I laughed, assuming it was a joke. "Good one, Rachel." Her smile faltered. "I'm serious." The room buzzed with murmurs. I stepped forward. "Rachel, I think you've had a bit too much to drink." She glared at me. "Don't patronize me. You said you'd give me the car." "I never said that." She turned to the crowd. "He promised me that car. He said it was mine." I shook my head. "That's not true." Her face twisted in anger. "If I can't have it, no one can." She stormed off the stage, pushing through the crowd. I followed, trying to calm her down. Rachel reached the valet area and marched straight to my car. Before anyone could stop her, she pulled a key from her purse and began scratching the side of the Mercedes, screaming obscenities. Gasps echoed from the guests who had followed us. I stood frozen, watching as she vandalized my car. When she finally stopped, breathing heavily, I approached her. "Feel better?" I asked calmly. She sneered. "You deserve it." I smirked. Good thing it was just a decoy. The real one's parked elsewhere. Her eyes widened. "What?" I gestured to the valet. "This is a rental." I didn't want to risk the real one at a public event. She looked around, realizing the crowd was filming the entire scene on their phones. The police arrived shortly after. Rachel was arrested for vandalism and disorderly conduct. I pressed charges. The videos went viral, and the story made local news. My phone buzzed nonstop with messages from friends, colleagues, and even strangers expressing their shock and support. Rachel's reputation was ruined. She was suspended from her teaching job pending an investigation. Mutual friends distanced themselves from her. As for me, I learned a valuable lesson about trust and boundaries. I also got a new paint job for my real Mercedes, which remained safe and unscathed. She spent the night in jail. That alone would have been enough for most people to cool off. But Rachel wasn't like most people. I thought it was over. I told the cops what happened, showed them the valet receipt proving the scratched car wasn't mine, and I figured that was the end of it. I was wrong. The next morning, I started getting anonymous texts. Weird stuff. Stuff like, "Hope you enjoy your fake luxury life." And, "Some people aren't meant to have nice things." At first, I ignored them. Thought maybe someone from the party had a twisted sense of humor. Then one came through that said, "Nice house on Doubletree Ranch Road. Windows look fragile." That got my attention. I live in a quiet, gated neighborhood. Not the kind of place where people mess around. I called the police, filed a report, and upgraded my security cameras. I didn't want to think it was Rachel, but deep down I knew. A few days passed. Things calmed down. Or at least I thought they did until I showed up at the office and my assistant looked at me like I was a ghost. "Mark, what the hell is this?" she said, holding up a manila envelope that had been slid under our office door overnight. Inside were printed screenshots of fake emails. Dozens. Conversations that looked like I was offering to sell houses illegally, under-the-table cash deals, shady stuff. It even had a fake signature that looked almost exactly like mine. I sat there speechless. The details were scary accurate. Someone had gone out of their way to make me look like a criminal. I knew instantly it was her. Rachel knew enough about my business to fake that stuff. But I had no proof. I had to spend the next 2 weeks dealing with lawyers, explaining to my partners, clients, and even my own staff that it was all fake. Thank God for digital forensics. We found evidence the screenshots were fabricated, metadata didn't line up, timestamps were off, but the damage was already done. 2 clients walked away just out of fear. My reputation took a hit. While all that was happening, Rachel went completely silent. No posts, no messages, no signs she even existed. It was eerie. Then my neighbor caught her on camera. She was driving by my house slowly at 2 a.m. Just creeping. Headlights off. Same car she'd always had. I brought the footage to the police again. They added it to the file, but without a direct threat, they couldn't do much more. I started sleeping with a baseball bat next to the bed. One afternoon, about 3 weeks after the party, my phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer. But something told me to. It was Rachel's sister. She was crying. Said Rachel wasn't doing well. Said she'd always had some issues, depression, impulsivity, but this time she'd snapped. She'd been ranting about me for days. Blamed me for ruining her life. Claimed I'd stolen her dream car. And she had to make things even. Apparently, Rachel had also disappeared. Packed a bag and left a note that said she had unfinished business. That was yesterday. And now I'm sitting in my home office watching the security cameras. Every noise outside makes me jump. My lawyer says we might have enough for a restraining order now. Maybe. Today started like any other. Emails, conference calls, coffee that wasn't strong enough. I thought things had finally hit a standstill, that maybe Rachel had moved on or run out of steam. Then I got a call from the dealership. "Mr. Hayes," the guy said, a little uneasy. "We just wanted to confirm some details before processing the order changes on your Mercedes. The custom modifications you requested, they're not usually reversible, so we need written confirmation." "What order changes?" I asked. He paused. "You didn't request an interior overhaul and respray?" I almost dropped my phone. Turns out someone walked into the dealership posing as me, ID, documents, even my voice on a spoofed call, asking for the car to be recolored bright yellow and the leather seats replaced with red velvet. Red velvet. They had signed forms. My dealer was convinced it was legit. I told them in no uncertain terms to stop everything. I drove straight there with my lawyer and showed them proof the signature wasn't mine. Rachel had tried to ruin the car I hadn't even revealed publicly yet. The real one. Hidden in storage, parked in a private garage, and somehow she still found out where it was. Only 2 people knew the location. Me and the garage manager. We pulled security logs. The system showed a login from someone using my credentials, but the timestamps didn't match my schedule. She'd hacked me. Or tricked someone. Either way, she was now making real moves. I left the dealership with knots in my stomach. She was getting smarter. Later that night, around 11 p.m., I was watching TV when I heard something hit my front door. Not loud, but enough to make me mute the volume. I checked the doorbell camera. There was a box. Just sitting there. No person in sight. I opened it carefully. No ticking, no strange smells, but it felt wrong. Inside was a pair of fuzzy dice, the kind you hang on your rearview mirror. Bright yellow. A sticky note was attached. Since you didn't want to share, enjoy this little charm instead. I made it just for you. No signature, but it didn't need one. The dice were soaked in some kind of liquid. I didn't touch them. Called the cops. They took the whole box for testing. I don't know if it was poison or just something to scare me, but it worked. I barely slept. I kept pacing, double-checking locks, cameras, the garage feed. Next morning, I tried to clear my head with a walk. Normal route, nothing fancy. Halfway through, I passed a parked car with blacked-out windows. Not unusual in Scottsdale. But as I walked by, the back window rolled down just a crack. A voice whispered, "Told you, Mark. You always underestimated me." Then the car sped off. I froze in the middle of the sidewalk, heart pounding. It was her. Not hiding anymore. She was playing a game. A long one. That afternoon, I got an email from a fake address pretending to be from the Arizona Department of Revenue, claiming I owed $87,000 in back taxes. Looked official. Logo, language, everything. But I knew better. This was her too. She'd started a smear campaign online too. Anonymous Reddit threads, local Facebook groups. Posts accusing me of stealing from clients, mistreating women, even hinting I ran some kind of shady real estate cult. None of it made sense, but in today's world it didn't have to. People just had to see it once for it to stick. I hired a private investigator. Within a week, he found something chilling. Rachel had been fired from her teaching job 6 months before the birthday party. She never told anyone. She'd been lying about still working. Her financial records were a mess. Credit cards maxed out, eviction notices piling up, court summons she'd ignored. She had nothing left. Her plan had never been about a car. It was about survival. Desperation. The PI also found out she'd been seeing a therapist. But she stopped showing up 3 months ago. That's when things really started to spiral. That's probably when she decided the only way out was to tear me down. Then something happened I didn't expect. Her mother showed up at my office. Elderly, polite, quiet voice. She apologized. Said she was ashamed. Said Rachel had always been fragile, but had gotten worse since her father passed last year. Then she handed me an envelope. Inside was a letter. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't a confession either. It was more like a manifesto. A full-page rant about how I owed her for everything. How I stole her spotlight. That I lived the life she should have had. And the Mercedes was just symbolic. She ended it with a line that's been echoing in my head since I read it. "I'll stop when you finally lose something you actually care about. You'll know it when it happens." I've reread that sentence 100 times. I installed more cameras. Hired private security. Put passwords on everything. But the worst thing wasn't the fear of Rachel showing up. It was the waiting. Knowing she was out there, planning, waiting for her moment. And I didn't know when or how it would hit. Then it finally did. It was a Friday afternoon, 2 months after the birthday party. I was at the office, trying to pretend like everything was normal, when I got a call from my bank. They asked if I was trying to wire $250,000 to an overseas account in Panama. No. No, I was not. The teller told me someone had walked into the branch that morning with a fake ID, pretending to be me. She had the account number, answers to my security questions, even a forged power of attorney letter. They almost did it, almost, but something about her behavior raised red flags. The teller's stalling saved me. I rushed to the bank. They showed me the security footage. It was Rachel. Hair dyed black, big sunglasses, but it was her. Smirking. Calm. Like she really thought she'd win. That was the last straw. I didn't want to just defend myself anymore. I wanted her stopped. I gave the footage to my lawyer and the private investigator. We took everything: emails, photos, texts, the fake IRS letter, dealership fraud, the break-in attempt, the threats, the forged banking documents, and built a case. Then I made one final move. I offered Rachel a meeting. Neutral location. A public coffee shop downtown. I sent her the invite from an anonymous number, just to see if she'd take the bait. She did. She showed up 10 minutes early. I walked in with a calm face and a wired mic under my shirt. The investigator was parked across the street with a camera. 2 plainclothes cops were sitting at a nearby table, ready. Rachel looked tired. Dark circles, shaky hands. She tried to smile. "I knew you'd come around," she said. "We were always better as a team." I sat across from her. "You stole from me, Rachel." "No," she whispered. "I took what you were hoarding. You tried to ruin me. You ruined me first. You left me behind." Then she leaned in. "But don't worry. I've still got things in motion. If anything happens to me, you're going down too." That was enough. I nodded to the cops. They stood, showed their badges, and arrested her right there. She didn't scream. She didn't fight. She just looked at me and said, "You think you've won?" That night, I finally slept. But the fallout wasn't over. During the investigation, my private investigator found something else. Something I didn't expect. A recording from 2 years ago. A conversation between me and Rachel. I was drunk. It was after I closed a huge deal. I made a joke, stupid, offhand, and thoughtless, something like, "Hell, maybe I'll buy you a Benz too someday if I keep making money like this." She saved that. Played it over and over, turned it into a promise in her head. To her, it wasn't a joke. To her, it was real. I messed up. I gave her false hope. I fed the fantasy without meaning to. I didn't deserve what she did. But I also couldn't deny I helped light the fuse. She's now facing multiple felony charges: fraud, identity theft, attempted wire fraud, vandalism, and harassment. Her life is over. But so is our story. And here's the last twist. The real Mercedes? I sold it. I didn't want it anymore. Every time I looked at it, all I saw was a mirror of what went wrong. I bought a used pickup instead. Plain. Simple. Gets me from point A to point B. No attention. No stories. And every time I slide behind the wheel, I remember that just because someone's been in your life for years, doesn't mean they should be there forever.